Hello guys, welcome back. My name is Nathan and today we're doing the first mock draft simulation for the 2023 NHL draft. Now a month and a half into the NHL season, we can kind of get an idea of what teams will be in the lottery and will be in the top 16. So we're going to go through all the top 16 picks. We're going to sim the draft lottery. We're going to sim those top 16 picks to see which players go to which teams and which players will be selected inside the top 16. So when it comes to the 2023 NHL draft, who will win the draft lottery, who will get Bedard, and how could the top 16 picks look like on draft day? Watch till the end for every single pick and every single team selection, and hit that subscribe button if you are new. 50% of you guys aren't subscribed, so if you like hockey content, this channel is the place to be. But first, let's talk about today's sponsor in Surfshark VPN, the all-in-one VPN for all of your internet needs. Nowadays, it is extremely hard to protect yourself and protect your data on the internet, yet Surfshark VPN is the easiest way to do so. With Surfshark's clean web, it takes care of all the ads, trackers, and malware that might try to get a hold of you. But easily my favorite thing about Surfshark VPN is being able to access so much more different content than you'd have before. Whether you're trying to watch a certain sporting events or trying to watch a certain show on Netflix or Hulu, some things might not be available in your country, but going through Surfshark VPN, changing your location makes it extremely easy to get the content you want. And thankfully, Surfshark is giving you a great opportunity to jump right in. Use the code GRAVITE at checkout and you'll get 85% off and 3 extra months free. It's a heck of a deal, so make sure you get Surfshark VPN and use GRAVITE at checkout. Thank you so much, Surfshark VPN, for sponsoring today's video, and let's get straight into it. Now, I'm just going to tell you guys right now, I did this draft simulation this morning, and the results were absolutely wild. As we go on to tankathon.com, of course, you see the Anaheim Ducks with the best current odds to win the draft lottery, but we ended up simming, and the Philadelphia Flyers rose 10 spots to get the first overall selection. Vancouver also rises up a ton of spots, but unfortunately, probably will not be good enough to get Connor Bedard, but some wild results that definitely shake up the draft order. So let's start off today's video with the first overall pick and the Philadelphia Flyers, and to me, even though the Flyers have made some questionable decisions over the past few seasons, this will not be a questionable decision. For the first overall pick, they will select Connor Bedard, and under John Tortorella's system, we'll see how it goes. I don't think Bedard is a perfect fit exactly, since he's not a player that's going to be driving through the boards and playing this gnarly and burly play style, but at the same time, he's a franchise-changing piece for this Philadelphia Flyers team that has not had much luck in their drafting, has not had much quality in their prospect pool recently. Connor Bedard brings it in droves, and you combine the puck handling, the competition he has, the skating ability he has, and the drive and that shot. To me, he's going to be a franchise-changing player in so many ways. So far, has 48 points in 22 WHL games, and will be the face of the Flyers for a long time. Seeing him with a team like Philadelphia is going to be nuts to watch. But now we can move on to the second overall pick and the Vancouver Canucks, who rose up a ton of spots here. And to me, even though they do like to draft their Swedes, I think they'll still go for Adam Fantilli. And to me, obviously the closest player to Bedard, I don't think there's actually a crazy gap between the two, especially with Fantilli. I think he's a lot more along physically and in terms of his defensive play. But you see with the University of Michigan so far in 12 games, he has 9 goals, 14 assists, 23 points. And to me, with Fantilli, it's not just the points he provides, but the play driving with that size. At 6'2", 187 pounds, he feels like he's 6'5" out there with the way he's able to grind play around boards. And to me, I think he might be not the most NHL ready, because I think Bedard might be more NHL ready, especially when it comes to the points. But when it comes to being in a middle six role, I think Fantilli is going to be amazing if he were put in that position. And I think with Vancouver, alongside some of the players they already have, he would be the type of piece that if they're going to retool, I think Fantilli would be a great start to have the next era of Canucks hockey, and would be brilliant there in my opinion. But next up, we go on to number 3, and this is where it starts to get pretty interesting to me. Of course, we have the Anaheim Ducks with the 3rd overall position, and to me, I think they could go for a variety of different guys, but I think the Anaheim Ducks are one of the teams that won't really care too much about Matvei Michkov's contract, and they will select him with the 3rd overall pick. Now, of course, they got Pavel Mintyukov in last year's draft, and even though, of course, Mintyukov was in the OHL, it does mean that they're not afraid to just simply draft Russian players. But as we have Michkov, even though he's a player that has had a little bit of power play dependency this year, could still be great in Anaheim. That shot is electric. The way he's able to get into interesting areas and scoring areas is really impressive, even at his age. But you see, of course, he's been playing mostly in the VHL this year, a goal per game, 12 points in 8 games. But you combine, of course, the playmakers they're going to have with Trevor Zegras and some of the other prospects they have coming up. And I think Matvei Michkov could be amazing with the Ducks. But next up, let's go on to the 4th overall pick here, and the San Jose Sharks, another Cali team here, but I expect them to select Leo Carlsson. Of course, I think getting Leo Carlsson at 4 is awesome for San Jose. And another team that's kind of going in a rebuilding direction, Leo Carlsson would be a magnificent add. They, of course, got William Eklund in the 2021 draft in the top 10, and they add another big-time Swede here, but a lot more different than Eklund. You see this year in 18 SHL games, he has 2 goals, 11 assists, 13 points. But to me, the skating ability he has at his size at 6'3" is monstrous. The physical play, he's able to get around the boards, and especially in the neutral zone, is so impressive. And again, the way he's able to drive play effectively. He's not the most flashy player, but he always seems to do the right thing and push play in the right direction. And I think San Jose will really appreciate that. Next up, let's go on to the last pick, though, in the top 5 with the Columbus Blue Jackets. And I think they're going to go for an interesting pick here. Of course, they selected David Jiricek in last year's draft, and I think they're going to go for another Czech here in Edward Jale. Now, in Czechia, he's been really interesting. You see in 18 games in the main pro league, he's gotten 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points. And to me, even though he's slowed up just a little bit in terms of his play driving, he still looked right at home in a pro men's league, and he's not even turning 18 until March. And to me, that is extremely impressive. But the way he's able to push play, the way he's able to puck control, and the playmaking he has, I think that's something that the Columbus Blue Jackets are really going to prioritize. They already have in some of their picks, like Kent Johnson, is puck movement, and I think Shale will fit right into that system going forward. But going on to the 6th overall pick and the Ottawa Senators, we now have a trade to announce. Going to the Ottawa Senators is the 13th overall pick, Jake Allen and David Savard. David Savard's contract being 50% retained. In exchange, the Montreal Canadiens will receive the 6th overall pick, Nikita Zaitsev, and a 2023 second rounder, which of course would be Ottawa's, and in this position would be a pretty high pick in the 2nd round. So the Sens get, of course, they drop down a few spots, but they get a starting goaltender. They get a player that, even though I think is a little overrated right now, can still play physically and give them a little bit of what they want on the back end. As for the Habs, they do bring on the Zaitsev contract, but you do go up to the 6th overall pick, and you get a pick that might as well just be, again, a late 1st rounder, early 2nd. It's in that range, and I think for the Habs would be extremely important, on top of course, getting the Panthers pick, which we'll get into in a few minutes' time. But to me, I think this could help both teams, and especially the salary retention of David Savard's contract is huge, and bringing on the Zaitsev contract is huge for the cap implications for the Sens. And I think there's a lot of reasons to do this for the Sens too. I don't think they need anybody at the 6th overall position, while I think the Habs have a lot to gain from going up to number 6. But going on to the 6th overall pick, who will the Habs select? Of course, rising up all these spots, who do they have their eyes on? To me, I think it definitely will be a center. I think they want to find another top 6 guy to maybe have behind, or maybe even ahead of Suzuki in some ways. And I think the player that makes the most sense to me in Montreal's system is Will Smith, who, of course, great name aside, is pretty young for this draft class at a March 17th birthday, but to me is one of the most underrated players in this entire draft. You see this year in the USDP, he has 17 goals, 26 assists, 43 points in 21 USDP games, and to me, he is the guy. He is the driver on that team in every single way. He carries the load. He is amazing every single shift, and it's not just what he does on the ice, it's the way he's able to carry himself, carry his teammates. He makes everyone around him better with his playmaking, with his play driving, with the way he's able to caress pucks and get around pressure. He's so agile in that way and so silky, and to me, I think he could be a guy that offensively maybe surpasses Nick Suzuki in a first-line position. I don't know if defensively he could be as good, but I think Will Smith is a guy that at 6th overall, there's a lot to justify it, and I think it could work out really well for the Habs. But next up, let's go on to 7th overall, and the Buffalo Sabres, another Atlantic Division team. I think they will end up going for a WHL player here, and I think they'll go for Zach Benson. Now, Now, at 5'10", Benson is in a unique position. He's playing with the Winnipeg Ice this year, and in 21 games, has 13 goals, 20 assists, 33 points. To me, he's a player that is just rock solid, and even though I think there might be some problems adapting to the pro game immediately, I think long-term there won't be many problems there, at least when it comes to with his speed and the way he's able to always bring something every single shift. His 200-foot game, I think, is really underrated with how he plays in Winnipeg. He's super intense, and to me, I think that will really aid what Buffalo is trying to build with their current roster and what they've also got coming up. But next up, let's go on to the Arizona Coyotes, and I was kind of going back and forth on who I actually thought they could pick in this spot, but I think they'll end up going for Matthew Wood. Now, at 6'3", 190 pounds, besides, I guess, the Logan Cooley pick, they've been really pushing the heights, and especially they're kind of like the Ottawa Senators, where most of their picks have been above 6 foot. They want to have a lot more physicality. With Matthew Wood, I think he could be in that position. You, of course, see him playing with the University of Connecticut this last year, and he has 12 points in 15 games. I think he's been pretty impressive there, and is the youngest NCAA player this year, and has played pretty well for Connecticut. But to me, that shot, the way he's able to get into good scoring areas, is the best part about him. Whether that will transition with Arizona, we'll see, but they got a lot of playmakers coming up, and I think Matthew Wood would complement him extremely well. But next up, let's go on to the 9th overall pick, and the Washington Capitals. I think they'll end up selecting Brayden Yager. Now, to me, I've kind of cooled on Yager a little bit, especially since I've watched a lot more of him this year, but at 6 foot, 165 pounds, you see this season with Moose Jaw. In 21 games, he has 10 goals, 15 assists, 25 points. To me, the best thing with Yager is when he has that puck, when he is in the offensive zone, he's able to be a little bit dynamic. His shot is amazing, and teams really know how good it is, so they like to test him, and he's able to adapt pretty well to that pressure. But to me, the off-puck play is rather inconsistent at best, and to me, I think there needs to be a little bit more play driving, a little bit more a solo play out of him, because I do feel like at times he can kind of get carried by his teammates. I think in Washington, though, we could see him get the development he needs and get that off-puck play back in the right direction. But now let's go on to the 10th overall pick here in the Chicago Blackhawks. I think they'll end up going for centerman Dalibor Dvorsky. Now, even though there are still questions for me a little bit in terms of the top-end potential, if he's a first-line guy, to me, I think he'll be a great second-line center, and in a lot of ways will be exactly what Chicago is kind of looking for. Even though he isn't the highest potential guy here, I think he can still play really well for him. You see, he's half a point per game in the Allsvenskan, and to me, he's extremely smart, always knows where to be, and always makes the right play, no matter what. On offense or defense, he pushes play in the right way. Even though I do want to see that skating improve a little bit, I want to see that explosiveness be shown a lot more, I do think in Chicago, he'll be rather solid and extremely consistent, especially if Taves stays. I think there's a lot of lessons to learn from him specifically. But now we got the 11th overall pick to worry about here, and next up we have the Minnesota Wild, and I have a feeling they'll go for a defenseman here, and of course with the Murat Kuznianov pick a couple of years ago and a couple other things, of course with Kirill Kaprizov being there too, Minnesota is not afraid to draft Russian players, and I think they'll go for the best defenseman of the draft here in Mikhail Gulyayev. Now, to me, Gulyayev, he to me is definitely the best D-man of the draft here, especially what he's done in the start of the season. But you see he's pretty young at an April 26th birth date, 5'10", 170 pounds, and you see he's played in both all the KHL, VHL, MHL, most of the KHL though, and I think he's been extremely impressive there. Even though the points might not be amazing, he still got an assist in 11 games, but to me, the puck movement that he provides is so extraordinary at such a young age. To provide that in one of the best leagues in the world already has been extremely impressive. When he has the puck, the efficiency, the creativity he has, and the way he's able to evade forechecks, and the way he's able to get out of his own zone is all highly effective. And even though there might be some off-puck worries, especially when he gets knocked off balance, I think he's still extremely young, and you can work around that and bring him over eventually. And I mean, Gulyayev would really fit Minnesota's system, and just thinking of him on a power play with Kirill Kaprizov, that to me just gets me super excited. But next I'm going to go to the Nashville Predators here, and I think they're going to go with Yvan Gauthier. Now, we've also seen in the past that they're not afraid of drafting the QMJHL with the Lamoureux pick, for example, but Gauthier, of course, being the highest rated one this year, and so far at Wish Yearbook in 21 games has 9 goals, 15 assists, 24 points. Kind of like Yager, I've cooled on him, especially over these past couple of weeks, but I still think Gauthier is an interesting player, but I do feel like he'll have a really big adjustment to make once those pros come up. But I think he's a player that still play drives pretty well, can still be pretty efficient, and can get in the right areas, but it's just a matter of how consistent will he be at that level. But I think if he does make it, if that physical barrier is able to be able to be jumped over, then I think he could be a solid middle six guy, maybe third line power play guy for the Preds. Next up at 13th overall, and the Ottawa Senators, they of course dropped down in the draft, and I think they're going to go for the most Ottawa Senators player possible, and that is Colby Barlow. Now, I still think Colby Barlow can be pretty solid for the Sens. You, of course, at 6'1", 187 pounds, you see that as a left winger, 17 years old, and in 17 OHL games as the captain for the Owen Sound attack, he has 12 goals, 12 assists, 24 points. To me, I think the comparison to Josh Anderson, I just continue to see it every single time I watch him. He's a player that has a lot going for him with his physical traits and the way he's able to knock players off balance and regain possession and score in the right areas. But at the same time, there is still some huge defensive issues. There are still some issues where he does need to be carried by his own line mates. But I do feel like with Ottawa, they aren't really going to be caring too much about that. They already got a lot of players that can provide the puck and can carry the puck. I think Barlow could be a great complementary piece. Next up at 14th overall, and the Pittsburgh Penguins in this position. They might not be in this position for long, but as of right now, I see them selecting Calum Ritchie. Now at age 17, at 6'2", he hasn't been nearly as good as I wanted to see out of him. In 18 games, he has 6 goals, 6 assists, 12 points, has 0 points in his last 5 games, unfortunately. But I still do like the way that Ritchie commands himself, the way he carries the puck, the way he's able to evade pressure, the way he's able to transition play. That's a big thing for me. But I do think there is still a lot that keeps him from unlocking his full talent. But in Pittsburgh, if any team's going to unlock it, I think Pittsburgh is a great bet to do it. Next up at 15th overall, though, in the Calgary Flames, I think they might go for a defenseman here, and I think they're going to go for Hunter Brustevich. Now, to me, with Brustevich, he's in an interesting position, playing with the Kitchener Rangers. He has 13 assists, 13 points in 18 games so far. I still love what he's able to provide, though, when it comes to the consistency with his passing and how sharp he's able to make those passes. He's a player that never seems to miss sticks and miss tape. He's always so good, especially on the power play. He's going to be a great power play quarterback in the future, a guy that really gets the job done there. And even though 5-on-5, I want to see a lot more dependency in his own zone, there's still a lot to work with his offensive ceiling. And to me, I think in Calgary, there's a lot that they could do with him. Next up at 16th overall, though, and the last pick here today, we got the Montreal Canadiens with the Florida Panthers pick. And I was debating if they'd go for a defenseman here, but I think if they were going to go for a D-man, it would be on the pure defensive side. But there wasn't really anybody at this range that I thought nearly fit that position. So I think they'll go for Riley Heidt, who at 16th overall, I think is a fantastic pick. He's a guy that's been rising a ton for me at 5'11", 179 pounds. He's a player that's been great this year, I think, for Prince George. In 21 games, he has 11 goals, 23 assists, 34 points. That transition game is so good, so efficient, so consistent every single shift. But the way he's able to regain possession, get in the offensive zone, cycle pucks, get near the net, and really scrape for pucks. I mean, of course, the size, you wouldn't exactly think that necessarily, but Heidt is so good in so many little detailed areas, and I think for Montreal, he would fit their play style extraordinarily well. And on a wing side of maybe, of course, a player like Will Smith, I think he could play extraordinarily well and just add to that great Montreal young forward depth. But that's going to be it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Comment down below, what do you guys agree and disagree with my picks? What do you see happening? Who do you think your team should take? What do you guys see this top 16 looking like? Let me know all your thoughts down below. Of course, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and share the video with all the hockey and draft fans you guys know online. And click this card for all the 2023 draft content right in one playlist. My name is Nathan. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video or stream. Goodbye.